But I sense that there's some progress today. But I think it's a tough conflict. I think that both sides don't trust each other. And that's a really difficult place to be. It's the same issues we had in Israel. Hamas thinks that Israel will not keep its word, and Israel feels that Hamas will not keep its word. And we had some very, straightforward, blunt conversations with both sides about needing to take the chance. I remember when we called the president, we said we had a deal, Jared and I, we had a deal in Gaza, and he said, that's wonderful. How are we doing in Russia? And I think that's who you want in a commander-in-chief. And I'm hard driving like that too. Maybe not as much as him.
Do you have those kind of intros around the world when you're going to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Middle East?
Only President Trump does, Brett.
Great to be here at the American Business Forum. Steve, it's great to see you. We're lucky that you're in town. You've bounced all over dealing with complex issues, trying to find peace in a lot of different places. But you also have this amazing business career, and I want to start there about your early life. Where did you grow up? How did it shape you? How did it kind of shape your drive and approach to business?
Well, I was born in the Bronx. My dad and my mom met in the Bronx. We moved to Baldwin Harbor, 1963. I think my dad paid $5,800 for the house there, Brett, a split level. We made another move to Long Island, and that's the story of my early childhood.
And did it shape how you looked at things, your upbringing?
Well, I always wanted to be in business, and my father wanted to be a physician. My grandfather had a heart attack, and he had to take over a sort of fledgling tailor business that my dad then grew into a ladies' coat manufacturer. But I think he always had a dream of wanting something more. And I practiced law. I represented the president, as you know. And I always wanted to be a real estate guy.
So you have developed some of the most iconic projects around the country. For these folks, maybe in real estate, other business, what is the secret of spotting a great opportunity before everyone else sees it? Is there something there?
I get asked that question all the time.
I'm sure.
I never have an answer that people are satisfied with. I spoke once at Columbia. They were all MBA graduate students, and no one liked my answer. They all thought that we had some sort of secret sauce as to find the right opportunity. I said the other day at the dinner for the speakers that we went deep into Miami when Francis Suarez came into office, as well as, thank you, as well as the governor. And because investing behind solid government, pro-business government, I think is an important feature. Giuliani changed the investment climate in New York in 1992. And then Mayor Bloomberg accentuated that. Low crime, pro-business, business doing things with government and a public-private benefits package, I mean informally. And it worked in New York. Unfortunately, it's turning now.
I asked Ken Griffin about that yesterday, about New York, and you think that will have an effect in real estate there?
I don't even think rent-stabilized housing has been destroyed. The value package there has destroyed it. But I think you see a lot of these people who are voting for people like Mandami, and they think it's just a bunch of rich people losing their money. That's not the really bad condition. The bad condition is you're going to see banks not finance that sector anymore. And when liquidity moves out of the system, that hurts everybody. People don't fix their properties up. That ultimately hurts the working class people who live there. And I grew up on working class housing. That's where I started my business, so I know it very well.
So speaking of that, real estate obviously has changed dramatically in the past decade, from financing, development cycles, cultural shifts, how people live and work around the country. What's been the biggest transformation that you've seen?
In the business?
Real estate.
Well, it's become institutionalized. When I first went into the business, Brett, in 1986, you didn't have J.P. Morgan in the business. or Blackstone in the business, or Apollo in the business, or there's so much institutional capital now. They were all afraid of owning housing. They thought that there was some sort of liability attached to it, and now everybody loves it.
What's the piece of advice that you wished someone had given you early on?
Don't sell.
Don't sell.
Yeah.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, but I couldn't afford not to sell. I mean, I had to sell because I started with, a $20,000 check from my dad, who, and that was probably half his liquid net worth. But if I didn't sell, look, I wasn't just in it for the money. I actually enjoyed the people I met. I was blessed to be in my own business. So, but when I say don't sell, what I mean is that if you have conviction, if you believe in things, then stick with it.
But also, if you have the financial ability to hold on to the property over time, that has paid off, is what you're saying.
Correct. Like I'm really not in the business anymore because I've divested. So I have a son who runs the real estate business, and he's very good at it. And I have another son who runs our crypto business, and he's very good at that. But I tell my son, who oversees the real estate business, we shouldn't sell anything. Now, we have a lot in Florida. We've got a big, deep, long bet on Florida for all the obvious reasons. The only downside to Florida that people can think of is hurricanes. And yet, we haven't really seen one this year. California and Texas have much worse situations than that. So I just don't think you can underwrite global climate change and so forth. I think Florida is on the move.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, talk about Miami specifically in contrast to big cities like New York and LA.
Well, they're coming down here, Brett. I mean, I think in short order, you'll have some bigger headquarter moves. People want to spend their time here. And you've got great airports, great airlift coming in here. The restaurants are now wonderful. You've got sports teams down here, culture, diversity of population from all over the world. And you've got a lot of capital coming down here. I mean, Jamie Dimon is now down here, he's the biggest of them all.
Yeah. You know, you've recently served as a special envoy to the Middle East. Now you have this new title, Special Envoy for Peace Missions, because you're doing peace missions all over the world.
Thank you.
You have been at the forefront, at the tip of the spear of some of the most relevant geopolitical events, really, of the last few years. There's part of your story many may not know. Let's take a look at this video.
Defined a generation. Towers of glass and steel that touched the clouds. But then, everything stopped.
And they said to me, you're never going to have a bigger hit than that in your life, losing a child.
We're going to do everything possible.
In the silence that followed loss, he discovered something greater than success. From the pain of losing one life, he found meaning in helping rebuild many.
The days of blank checks are over.
From shaping cities to helping shape peace.
This finish line is about saving lives.
Because some builders raise towers and others rebuild the world within us.
You talked about this on 60 Minutes, and it was so powerful. You lost your son, and that horrible event in your life has enabled you in this job to actually be empathetic across the line with other people who have similar situations.
Yeah, I feel that my boy Andrew puts his hand on my back and takes me to these places. And it began shortly after his death. I met multiple families whose families had buried children, and I became friends with them. And this job is the most blessed of them all. I mean, the president gave me this opportunity. Sometimes I don't even know how to thank him. He thanks me all the time. I say, sir, I need to thank you. I'm getting more out of this than the other side is. I met so many families. You know, Brett, one of the things that got me through my boy's death is understanding that other people had it worse than me. I met a family who buried 3 children out of 4. And so I met those hostage families, and I remember thinking, what would every night be for me if I went to sleep and I had a daughter who was there, and I felt she was being mistreated? How would I deal with that? Or a son who was in the military and wasn't being treated correctly. On some level, my son's death was quick. The notice was fast to me. I heard about it from the doctors at Cedars-Sinai. It's the only time in my life I fainted. And I just did. I just don't even remember, maybe 15 seconds of it. And I think these people had it a lot worse than me. If I was going to lose a child, I wouldn't want to lose a child that way, being terrorized every single night. And we became friends and bonded with them. I remember when I'm probably going to be traveling to Israel over the weekend for one of the funerals, and I was talking to the Nutras and the Chens who just got their children back. And I thought to myself, I know I don't want to call it a happy moment because I know it's bittersweet. They know their child was gone, but sometimes you can't come to terms with it. And I'll tell you, I'll point something out. Every family who came to the White House to see me, I would go down to the president and I would say, so-and-so is here. And he knew who they all were. And he didn't refuse a single visit, Brett. And he became, I think, as impacted emotionally as I did. He doesn't, as you well know, you're a good friend. He doesn't like to show that part of his personality. But, he's an incredible human being. He really is. And he didn't refuse a single visit. I mean, that's old school. He heard what it was like, the struggle they had been going through, and I don't know. It's kind of really. I think it's kind of amazing to have a president who is that compassionate, and yet he doesn't get acknowledged for it.
You've had some massive success in your business career. Huge properties that launched and made you a lot of money, your company a lot of money. But that success, compared to watching those hostages hug their families after all that time, just put that in context.
I'd give it all up. I mean, I would. I mean, I don't take a salary. I pay for all my own expenses. I travel all over the world. I don't ask for a gas. I don't mean this to be a testament to me. I'm saying to you that it's worth more than any form of money to help people, to bring lives home, to feel like I do it. Thank you. Thank you. To feel like I do it like my boy's death now means something to me. It means that I get to carry on with his spirit. I actually said this very same thing to Ruby Chen yesterday. I said, your boy, look at you lost your son. He fought on behalf of his country.
His remains just came back.
His remains just came back. The funeral is Sunday. I said, look at you and your wife were indefatigable in pursuing his remains back. But you raised public consciousness about these people in the tunnels who were being held. And that's what allowed us to create the pressure to bring everybody home. That's you having done it on his behalf. That's a memory, a feeling that you'll have for the rest of your life. And they're not going to stop fighting ever again, these people. They're not going to give up for any of the remaining bodies.
A lot of business people, entrepreneurs in this audience, you've dealt with some of the most complex negotiations now and dynamics around the world. You obviously dealt with complex negotiations in your business life before that. But what did you learn about negotiation and trust and leadership since being in this job?
Well, trust and integrity is everything. And people have to respect you and believe in you. World leaders today respect and trust the United States of America because of Donald Trump's leadership. And that's just a fact. Thank you. I don't think they're used to that. I think they were used to people before this election who would say certain things and not do what they say. And he does what he says. and it carries a lot of weight in the world.
You know, the Abraham Accords kind of reshaped, obviously, parts of the Middle East, political, economic landscape. From your perspective, what's the next frontier for regional collaboration, and what does that look like?
Well, look, Abraham Accords are big. I'm flying back to Washington tonight because we're going to announce tonight another country coming into the Abraham Accords tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you want to, you know, lift the curtain here, or do you want to? I have a show at 6 o'clock tonight.
I don't know if it's out yet, and the president constantly says that, you know, he thinks it's important, and you know how I do my job because I do it in this way, and I'm not a leaker.
Okay, all right.
So,
well, if you could
so
just tell me before special report, that'd be helpful.
I think it's going to be news by like 6:30 tonight.
Okay, all right, we'll get it on. But bigger picture, next frontier, you think more things are happening. Dominoes are falling.
Well, look, we have to. The critical piece of Gaza now is implementing. I was on the phone before I just got in with the Turkish foreign minister, with Ron Dermer. So Jared, I, and a very, very, very strong team are very focused on implementation. What you learned what I learned in the real estate business is just because you bought the deal didn't mean you were going to make any money from it. And so you really had to be focused on the execution, what the exit plan was, and execute correctly. And that's what we're doing in Gaza. And I think if we hold it together, then we'll have even more credibility around the world. And I'm very confident we will hold it together and we will complete the mission. I also think that what we're trying to do in Gaza with the CMCC, where we're bringing a lot of countries together consensually to work with one another, that is the paradigm or the model for what will happen in Ukraine, Russia, when we settle that. And we will settle it. And I think that's probably the most important one to settle next.
Yeah. Let me just finish with Gaza. You know, for some people who look at it and say it's stuck in second gear and it's not moving forward, I know you see things that we don't see. The thought was that these Gulf nations, perhaps other Arab countries, were going to put forces in and then Hamas would disarm eventually. You're saying it is step by step moving that way.
Well, first of all, Hamas has always indicated that they would disarm. They've said so. They've said it to us directly in that famous meeting that Jared had with them. And so I hope that they keep their word, because I think if they do, they'll understand that the development plan that we have for Gaza is really terrific, a lot better than anyone has ever discussed before. How we're going to finance it, aspirational upside for the people to be a part of it, tremendous jobs program. So I think as people begin to see what we're going to do there, I think they're going to be very, very bought in. But that said, and just to explain Hamas's position, we are right in the middle of standing up a decommissioning process of weapons, a demilitarization, an amnesty program. And Hamas has always said that we're going to need the international security force to come in here and be the layer who they give the weapons to. And we haven't finished that yet. That hopefully finishes in the next 3 weeks. And we think that'll be the opportunity, that'll be the inflection point where we see if everyone's going to do as they say they're going to do and demilitarize. And we may even get a look, by the way, in a microcosm sort of way. We may see the model of what we're trying to do here, or what we intend to do here, with these 200 fighters who are trapped in Rafah. And whether they're going to be able to raise their hands, walk out, turn over their weapons. And so this will be one of the tests.
You talk about Russia, Ukraine. You talked about trust and leadership. It seems like people looking from the outside, and maybe on the inside, don't really believe they could trust Russian President Vladimir Putin. You suggest that it is moving forward. What would you say to this group?
Well, I mean, he's never... I've met with him 6 times, and they were... I mean, I don't know that there was a meeting less than 4 hours. In some meetings were as long as 5 hours. And I think it's a tough struggle. I think we have a lot of work to do with regard to security protocols for Ukraine, There's a lot of discussion that technical teams have to have happened at the lower level before the leaders can get to a deal. But I sense that there's some progress today. But I think it's a tough conflict. I think that both sides don't trust each other. And that's a really difficult place to be. It's the same issues we had in Israel. Hamas thinks that Israel will not keep its word, and Israel feels that Hamas will not keep its word. And we had some very, straightforward, blunt conversations with both sides about needing to take the chance. And I am hopeful that in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, people will make bold leadership decisions and take that chance.
What surprised you most about working in government compared to the private sector?
God, I think the private sector was a setup for me. It really was. And New York's a tough place, and it's certainly a tough place to crack into. But we managed to do it, and it was all about hard work. I don't think I took a vacation in the first 3 or 4 years of my professional life. Like, you couldn't find people today who would tell you that. So I think it's about a lot of hard work. And I'm working for a man, Brett, as you know, who has this obsessive, indomitable streak. Nothing satisfies him after you've told him that you've made the deal. And I don't mean that he's not grateful for it. He wants to push on and get the next one done. That's who he is. He just wants to make the world a better place, and it is this constant drive to do that. I remember when we called the president, we said we had a deal, Jared and I, we had a deal in Gaza, and he said, that's wonderful. How are we doing in Russia? And I think that's who you want in a commander-in-chief. And I'm hard driving like that too. Maybe not as much as him, but his energy level is so powerful, and I was with him yesterday, and he's traveling in here to do this, and then he's going back to do, God knows. I mean, I think my schedule is hectic. It's small compared to his. So he inspires that's why his team is so successful now. First of all, it's a tight team. It's a really loyal team. They're pro him, for him. I tell the president this all the time. And I don't know, it's just one of the I think it's the most blessed experience of my life to be doing what I'm doing.
As you talk to small business owners, entrepreneurs, yesterday Ken Griffin said, hustle. If you can out-hustle, you can beat 90% of the folks who are out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ken. Totally. You couldn't say it better, and it's simple, but it's true. Out-hustle. I agree with that. Outwork people. I remember when I got my first job, they told me it started at 8. My father told me to get in at 7. I got in at 7 every single day. And he said to me, never get in the elevator before you know that the boss has gotten in the elevator first. And so out-hustle was the message. And I think you got to do that.
How did the experience representing your country, engaging with leaders across the Middle East, across the world, change your view of leadership, of legacy, of where America stands in the world?
That leadership matters, that one person can matter. Donald Trump's election is so consequential. It changed everything out there. And that tells you how important it is. Policy matters. You look at every one of all of the initiatives that he's doing now. It's all clicking. It's all working out there. And the world is becoming a better and a safer place. And I think government matters. Like I tell my children now, you should think about some sort of civic service. I think it makes you feel a lot better. Makes you feel better about yourself. I think national service, when I go to Israel and I meet these young kids who are all in the military, 18 years old, you're in the military. But they're proud of it. They're serving their country. And I think we would do well with that.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Pardon me?
What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I hope my legacy is that I'm remembered as a good person who tried to do things in the memory of his son. I hope.
Amazing. And last thing is we're talking to this group. You see, when you look at the world, optimism. You are optimistic. You look at the world and say it's changing for the better.
I do. I think Donald Trump, the greatest thing that we did for him, for this country, was to make sure that Donald Trump got elected. And I am, Brett, I go into that Oval Office, and I am in awe of the things that we're working on today. How to drop mortgage rates, how to find peace in the world, how to make sure we initiate tariff policy, because it's given us a lot of leverage out there. On top of that, we're making money. Just how to make the world a better place. He's interested in fixing everything. We can't fix everything, but we're going to try. And I think that's the sort of president that we have. We have someone who's going to use his power to try everywhere he can.
And he makes decisions pretty quickly. I mean, it is a bunch of people, but when the decision's made, it's made.
You know, I think, Brett, not only does he make decisions, when I say quickly, I don't mean without thought. I mean, if we're sitting in the room, the two of us together, you may not be a member of the administration, but he's got great respect for you, so he'll ask you your opinion, as you know. And he might ask me my opinion, and he'll make a decision. And it's possible it's not the perfect decision, but he doesn't stumble because of that. Then he goes on to make another decision that's going to be the perfect decision. My point is, he knows that sometimes we're not going to get it perfectly, but he just keeps on knocking at the door, and invariably he gets it right. So it's pretty remarkable for me to watch.
And world leaders, how do they look at him?
They're blown away. Blown away. In the Arab world, there's huge respect for him. You know, people respect power there. They respect fortitude. They respect people keeping their word, like not coming in and out. That's who he is. I think Vladimir Putin completely respects him. I think this trip that he made to the Southeast Asia shows you that Xi respects him. And they respect the fact that he'll do things to enforce America First policies. They can't circumvent us anymore. I think they all respect us.
And if you, in these decisions where you're making these peace deals, what do you take away from that negotiation and how to get it across the finish line? When you're in the heat of the battle, going down to the nitty-gritty, what's the best trick to be able to get there?
Well, you know, Jared and I, in the last several days of the Gaza negotiation, we both had there was no space between us on what we needed to do. You can't make a good deal unless it's good for each side. And even if someone signs a bad deal, he'll be intent on breaking the bad deal. So it was our job to find how both sides could digest and sell to their constituencies the deal that we were trying to make there. I say it all the time, we had to convince Hamas that those hostages were no longer an asset for them. Those hostages had become a liability. And I think as we became successful in them appreciating that, that was the inflection point that led to the deal. And I think the same thing is going to happen at some point in Russia-Ukraine, that both sides will get to a place where they understand that solving that conflict kinetically is bad for them long term, either of them, that it should be solved diplomatically. And then they can both grow their countries.
So as you're sitting at that table, you're trying to get something that they both agree on. You're trying to take the conversation. I mean, it can be pretty awkward.
Yeah. And give them examples of examples give them historical context about why to do things like that. why compromise at this moment might be the smart thing to do. Why someone being the bigger man might be a great example. Here's a small example of what I mean. When we did this whole deal at the president's direction with Azerbaijan and Armenia, these countries had been fighting for close to 40 years. And President Aliyev came in. His father was the former president, and he's got the much superior army. He took his moment to take back some land from Armenia. And we were sitting in the Oval Office, and the president asked the President Aliyev, while the president of Armenia was there, why did you stop? Like, you had them on the run. You've got the bigger military. What made you stop? And he said, because that's all I wanted back, was what they took. I didn't need more. And it was an amazing decision on his part to do that, Brad. He felt that going any further would hurt him internationally. It was an example of statesmanship. And I think that those are wonderful examples for conflicts out there where leaders should understand that they do better if they resolve things diplomatically, peacefully, with less loss of life than kinetically, and show everybody how big and tough their army is.
You've been in the room for a lot of this, but there's been Armenia, Azerbaijan, Congo, Rwanda, India, Pakistan, Israel, Hamas, and this Gaza deal. Mm-hmm. There are others that the president is figuring out how those sides deal with each other.
Yes.
What's the secret sauce? Are they all different?
Well, they all have different circumstances. Yeah, they do. But, today we saw an offer for a ceasefire and big aid coming into Sudan from one of the groups that's fighting there. That's at the president's urging. That's something, by the way, that nobody knows about. That's hot off the press.
Okay.
So,
breaking news.
And I think that's an example of a conflict where the president is urging it to stop and people are paying attention and listening. Now, I don't know if in the past our prior foreign policy teams did all of these things. He wants it all solved. That's who he is. And we then go out there and we want to get it done for him and for the American people.
When he was campaigning, he was not, peacemaker in chief, but he has kind of taken that title in how he's negotiated.
Yeah. I think it's, first of all, I think he's always been a great human being. He just doesn't get the credit for it, and he should. And I talk about it all the time. He should. Now, I don't mean with a Nobel Peace Prize. Certainly, he got cheated out of the Nobel Peace Prize this year. That's for sure. But there could be no doubt. I don't even know how you would. The woman who got it actually said, "I should give it to you, sir." But forgetting about the Peace Prize, he is a good, decent man. He doesn't need to do this job. He's wealthy. He could get a big boat, travel in the Mediterranean in the summer, go to St. Bart's in the winter. Instead, he goes to his office every day and figures out how he can do better. I think that's quite remarkable. And it makes me really proud to work for him.
How long do you think you could keep this pace up, though? This job that you are right now, I've seen you on the phone, I've seen you get on planes, get off planes, travel around the world. Keep it going for how long?
Personally?
Yeah.
As long as he would want me to.
You like it that much?
Well, I'm not sure that would make my girlfriend happy, who's in the audience. By the way, it was her birthday yesterday, so I say happy birthday.
That? Happy birthday, Lauren.
But yeah, I don't know that I've ever felt this fulfilled in my life. I feel really fulfilled that I get to do this job. It's an extraordinary experience. And you and I have talked about this. Maybe one day you're going to want to do something like this, Brad. I
don't know. You can take the baton. It is passion, though, right? And would you say that when you find the passion, it makes a difference?
Well, I get these calls from people who say you made my life just a little bit better. And then I go into the Oval and I watch some of these hostages come out and tell the president what it was like for them. I remember when we got Mark Fogel home. He was
in Russia.
He was in Russia. We came in a snowstorm. He called his 93-year-old mom from the plane, elated. She had no idea. And then the president spent 2 hours with him at 1 o'clock in the morning, showing him the Lincoln Room, talking to him about his experiences. He turned to me, he said to me, I didn't know I had a president like this. I didn't know that I had a government that cared about me this much. And you watch that, and you want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you're striving for, another one of those, another breakthrough.
Well, no, I don't mean... I think we're striving to complete whatever President Trump tells us the mission is. We're trying to complete that. Mm-hmm. And I think when we can't get it done on his schedule, I think we all feel that we failed a little bit. And then he keeps on propping us up and saying to us, go on, get out there. Go do it. He's an inspirational guy.
Last thing, taking it back to the beginning, as you look at your business life and you look at this life, you said you'd give it all up to see those images of hostages coming home to their families. What's the next chapter for you?
Well, I'm never going to go back to business the way I did. First of all, it was time for me anyway. I've got very capable kids. They're bright, super well educated. They're very, very close. And so that's for them to do now. They can watch after me a little bit. And I think I'll try to do, I think now that I've felt what it's like to give of yourself, I think I want to do it more. And even after the administration or whenever it is that I leave, that's where I think my life will take me.
Well, Steve, we appreciate your service to the country.